The human gripped the knife, his eyes dark with grim determination as he stared at the flickering alien ship monitors, muttering softly, "I'm going to release humanity's unimaginably vast ancient fleets, and you will all burn." A tense standoff between the Andorian fleet and a ragtag alliance of lesser species was on the brink of war. Admiral Tyro, the proud and ruthless leader of the Andorians, demanded the unconditional surrender of the alliance. "You have no choice but to submit. My fleet outnumbers yours 10-1. Surrender now and we may let you live as slaves. Resist and you will be exterminated." Tyro growled, his 4 red eyes narrowing. The alliance refused to back down. They knew surrendering meant a fate worse than death: enslavement, torture, experimentation, and eventual extinction. They had to fight, even if it meant their doom. "We will never surrender to you, you slimy tentacled freak," the Alliance commander spat back. "We'd rather die on our feet than live under your boot." Tyro's mandibles clicked with annoyance. "Then you have chosen death." He turned to his weapons officer. "Prepare to—" Suddenly, a small unfamiliar ship emerged from hyperspace between the two fleets. It was a design never seen before, sleek and angular, bristling with unknown weapons. The ship hailed both fleets. "This is Charles Hicks of the Human Remnant. I have a message for all of you." Tyro slammed his fist on the console. "Open fire! Destroy that insignificant ship!" A barrage of plasma bolts and missiles streaked toward the human vessel. But Hicks's ship danced through the onslaught with ease, its shields flickering as they absorbed the few hits that landed. Hicks smirked. "My turn!" A single shot from his quantum cannon lanced out, striking Tyro's flagship. The massive ship shuddered, its weapons falling silent and engines sputtering out. The Andorian fleet hung back, stunned by the effortless disabling of their leader's ship. Murmurs of disbelief filled their comms. Hicks hailed the Alliance fleet. "I offer you a choice. Join us and together we can end the Andorian threat once and for all. Humanity has the technology and strength to challenge their empire." The Alliance leaders conferred hastily. The display of human power was undeniable. "We agree to a truce," the Alliance commander replied. "We wish to meet with your leaders to discuss an alliance." Hicks hesitated. Bringing outsiders to Earth was risky. "I'll escort a delegation to a neutral location. We can arrange a meeting there." As the Alliance ships moved into formation behind Hicks, Tyro seethed in his crippled flagship. "Launch the stealth ship," he hissed to his subordinate. "Track that human, find out where he's going, and gather any intel you can on his fleet." A small cloaked vessel silently detached from the flagship and slipped into the void, shadowing Hicks and the Alliance convoy as they set off into uncharted space. Hicks guided the ragtag fleet through the dense asteroid field, his knuckles white as he gripped the control stick. The jagged space rocks bounced off the hull of his ship. He checked the monitors, seeing the alien ships trailing close behind. So far, so good. "Keep tight and watch for debris," Hicks called over the comms. "Almost through this mess." Suddenly, proximity alarms blared through the cockpit. Hicks's eyes shot to the scanners, widening at the sight of dozens of red blips converging on their position from all directions. "Evasive maneuvers," Hicks shouted. "We've got incoming." A swarm of metallic orbs burst from the asteroids, ancient weapon systems flaring to life. Sickly green plasma blasts rained down on the fleet, scorching hulls and sending ships careening into the unforgiving rocks. Hicks swore under his breath, recognizing the distinctive design. Autonomous hunter-killer drones, remnants from the war that nearly destroyed humanity centuries ago. The rendezvous point was compromised. "All ships defensive formation," Hicks barked. "Protect the delegates at all costs." The human's fingers flew across the console, activating his ship's advanced point defense array. Pulse cannons swiveled and spat streams of superheated tungsten, swatting the ancient drones from the void with pinpoint precision. As the Alliance vessels fell into formation, their own weapons chattering, a cloaked ship drifted among the asteroids. Commander Zaron watched the chaos unfold, mandibles clicking with glee. Scan the human ship and those drones, Zaran ordered. I want every scrap of data on their technology. Hidden sensors probed the battle, transmitting terabytes of precious intel to Tyro's flagship. But Hicks' instruments lit up, detecting the unauthorized scans. His eyes narrowed. With a few quick keystrokes, Hicks infiltrated the swarm's control network, his quantum computer slicing through their ancient firewalls. The drones froze, then turned as one, converging on Zaron's ship like angry hornets. "No, no, no," Zaron screamed as the swarm tore into his hull, stripping away the cloak. Alarms shrieked and conduits exploded, the assault laying bare the Andorian subterfuge. Hicks pounced, locking on with his main cannon. A lance of pure energy slammed into Zaron's engines, the miniature sun consuming armor and circuitry alike. Atmosphere belched from gaping wounds as the ship listed, dead in space. The Alliance ships could only watch in stunned silence as Hicks single-handedly crippled the Andorian vessel and brought the drone swarm to heel. Murmurs of awe filled the comms, the delegates witnessing the power of human technology firsthand. With a few terse commands, Hicks sent the drones into dormancy and opened a channel to the fleet. "The meeting point isn't safe. I'm transmitting coordinates to a secure outpost. We'll continue our talks there." As the ships fell into formation once more, Hicks charted a new course, thoughts racing. The Alliance needed humanity's protection, now more than ever, but the true extent of their ancient power had to remain hidden until the time was right to strike at the heart of the Andorian Empire. Hicks' ship dropped out of hyperspace, the dense nebula swirling before them. The Alliance delegates peered through the viewports, eyes widening as a massive structure emerged from the cosmic clouds, a heavily fortified human space station bristling with ancient weapon emplacements. As they docked, a small contingent of human soldiers greeted them, led by a tall woman with piercing green eyes and close-cropped auburn hair. Hicks stepped forward, clasping her arm in a warrior's greeting. "Commander Reeves," he said with a nod. "It's been a long time." Elara Reeves, Hicks's former second-in-command and a brilliant strategist, returned the nod. "Too long, old friend. I wish it were under better circumstances." She turned to the Alliance delegates, her expression grave. "Follow me, there's much you need to know." In the station's command center, Reeves brought up holographic displays of sleek, powerful ships, vessels that dwarfed anything the Alliance had ever seen. "This," she said, "is humanity's ancient fleet, a force capable of reshaping the galaxy or destroying it." The delegates murmured, awestruck and terrified in equal measure. Reeves continued outlining the fleet's history and the consequences of unleashing its might. Suddenly alarms blared, red lights pulsed, bathing the room in an ominous glow. Hicks leapt to the console, his face hardening as sensor data streamed in. "Tyro," he growled. "He must have tracked Zaron's ship and he's brought an armada." Reeves' fingers flew over the controls, ancient systems stirring to life. "We have to hold them off. Buy time for the evacuation." Hicks turned to the delegates. "We could use your help, your ships, your people. We stand a better chance together." The Alliance leaders shared a glance, then nodded as one. "We're with you," the commander said. "To the end." Klaxons sounded as pilots raced to their fighters, the human craft sleek and deadly. The Alliance ships took up formation alongside them, weapons hot. In the nebula, Tyro's armada bore down on the station, plasma cannons charging. The human fighters streaked out to meet them, a dance of death against the backdrop of swirling gases. Ancient weapon platforms thrummed with power, lancing out with beams of pure energy. Andorian ships shattered under the onslaught, but more surged forward, heedless of the losses. Aboard the station, Hicks watched the battle unfold, his jaw tight. A proximity alert chimed, a boarding party cutting through the hull. "Tyro," Hicks said, checking his sidearm. "He wants the station intact, wants our tech." Reeves nodded grimly. "He'll be coming for you, for the delegates. We can't let him take them alive." Hicks strode toward the door, his eyes hard. "He won't. I'll make sure of it." Deep within the station's core, Hicks stood waiting, the hum of ancient machinery filling the air. The bulkhead doors hissed open, and Tyro stepped through, flanked by a squad of elite Andorian soldiers. The two enemies faced each other, the fate of the galaxy hanging in the balance. Tyro's mandibles clicked, a cruel smile playing across his alien features. "Surrender, human," he hissed. "Your ancient power is wasted on your kind. Give it to me and perhaps I'll let you live." Hicks's eyes narrowed, his hand hovering over the control panel. "You want our technology, Tyro, our power?" His fingers danced across the keys, ancient systems stirring to life. "Then you shall have it." Tyro sneered, his hand tightening around the pulsing Soul Reaper artifact. "You're too late, human. With this power, I will reshape the galaxy in my image." He activated the ancient device, tendrils of dark energy snaking out and coiling around the station's core. The very fabric of space warped and twisted, bulkheads groaning under the strain. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks as the Andorian boarding party advanced, emboldened by their leader's newfound power. Hicks gritted his teeth, slamming his fist on the control panel. "You have no idea what you're dealing with, Tyro, but you're about to find out." His fingers danced across the interface, inputting a complex series of codes. Deep within the station, ancient gears ground to life, hidden doors sliding open to reveal a cavernous hangar. Row upon row of sleek, deadly warships gleamed in the dim light, their hulls emblazoned with the sigil of the Omega fleet. Tyro's four eyes widened in disbelief as the human vessels surged forward, their singularity cores thrumming with unimaginable power. Dreadnoughts the size of small moons led the charge, their quantum cannons lancing through the Andorian fleet like a hot knife through butter. Battle cruisers and nimble fighters darted between the larger ships, picking off stragglers with merciless precision. The station shuddered as the Omega fleet engaged the Andorian forces, ancient weapons systems flaring to life. Hicks lunged at Tyro, his fists slamming into the Admiral's chitinous armor. They grappled for control of the Soul Reaper, the artifact's dark energy scorching their flesh. Around them, the station descended into chaos. Alliance delegates and human soldiers fought side by side, desperately trying to evacuate the wounded and protect the Singularity Core from sabotage. Andorian troops pressed forward, their plasma rifles spitting death. Hicks headbutted Tyro, his skull ringing from the impact. The Andorian staggered back, his grip on the Soul Reaper loosening. Hicks seized the opportunity, wrenching the artifact from Tyro's grasp. But the Admiral was far from defeated. With a roar of fury, he charged at Hicks, his talons slashing at the human's face. They traded blows, blood splattering the deck as they fought tooth and nail. Outside, the Omega fleet gained the upper hand, the Andorian ships falling before the onslaught of ancient human technology. But Tyro refused to surrender, his desperation fueling his strength. He ripped the Soul Reaper from Hicks's hands, holding it aloft as the dark energy pulsed stronger than ever. Reality itself began to fray at the edges, the station's very atoms threatening to unravel. "If I can't have this power," Tyro snarled, "then no one will." He pushed the Soul Reaper to its limits, the ancient artifact shuddering under the strain. Space and time twisted around them, the boundaries between dimensions blurring. Hicks staggered to his feet, blood dripping from his brow. He knew he had to act fast or the entire galaxy would be consumed by the Soul Reaper's unleashed might. With a final, desperate lunge, he tackled Tyro, his fingers scrabbling for the artifact as they tumbled to the deck. Amidst the chaos of the raging battle, a lone figure slipped unseen through the station's corridors, Commander Zaran, having miraculously survived his ship's destruction. His eyes gleamed with a desperate resolve as he made his way toward the Singularity Core chamber, determined to seize the ultimate prize for the Andorian Empire. Reeves, her instincts razor-sharp, detected the intruder's presence. She spun around, her pulse rifle at the ready, just as Zaran rounded the corner. The two warriors locked eyes, a silent challenge passing between them. In a heartbeat, the corridor erupted into a fierce firefight. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air, scorching the bulkheads. Reeves ducked and weaved, her movements fluid and precise, as she returned fire with deadly accuracy. Zaran pressed forward, undeterred by the onslaught. He lobbed a plasma grenade, the explosive detonating mere inches from Reeves's position. She rolled to the side, the heat of the blast searing her skin. In the heart of the station, Hicks and Tyro grappled for control of the Soul Reaper. The human's iron grip closed around the Andorian's wrist, twisting with brutal force. Tyro howled in pain, the artifact tumbling from his grasp. Hicks snatched the Soul Reaper, his eyes widening as the ancient device pulsed wildly in his hands. Dark energy crackled across its surface, the air around them warping and distorting. "It's unstable," Hicks gasped, his mind racing. "Tyro, you fool, you've pushed it too far." The Soul Reaper's power surged, threatening to tear the very fabric of space asunder. Hicks knew he had only one chance to prevent a catastrophe that could engulf the entire star system. "Reeves," he barked into his comm unit, his voice strained. "I need the Singularity Core now." Reeves, locked in a deadly dance with Zaran, heard Hicks's desperate plea. She gritted her teeth, knowing the risk of exposing the core to the Andorians. But she trusted Hicks with her life and the fate of the galaxy. With a final burst of fire, Reeves forced Zaran into cover. She seized the moment, sprinting towards the core chamber with every ounce of speed she could muster. Zaran, realizing her intent, let out a roar of fury and gave chase. Plasma bolts nipped at Reeves's heels as she ran, the Andorian commander hot on her trail. The doors to the chamber hissed open, revealing the pulsing heart of the station, the Singularity Core, a swirling vortex of unimaginable power. Reeves snatched the core from its housing, the device thrumming in her hands. She whirled around just as Zaran burst into the room. The Andorian leveled his weapon, a triumphant sneer on his face, but Reeves was faster, her rifle already trained on her foe. The standoff lasted only a heartbeat before Reeves squeezed the trigger. The plasma bolt caught Zaran square in the chest, sending him sprawling to the deck, his rifle clattering uselessly beside him. Wasting no time, Reeves sprinted back to Hicks's location. She burst into the room, the Singularity Core pulsing in her grasp. Tyro, his eyes wide with horror, could only watch as Hicks seized the core. The human pressed it against the Soul Reaper, the two artifacts resonating with an otherworldly hum. A blinding flash filled the room, the Soul Reaper's dark energy surging into the Singularity Core. The ancient Andorian device crumbled to dust, its power neutralized by the core's infinite depths. But as the light faded, Hicks and Reeves stared in awe at the Singularity Core. It pulsed with a new intensity, a gateway yawning open within its swirling depths. Beyond lay a realm of infinite possibility, a higher dimension that held the key to humanity's ultimate destiny. The true nature of the Singularity Core was laid bare, and with it, the path to a future beyond anything they had ever imagined. Hicks and Reeves exchanged a glance, the weight of this revelation hanging heavy in the air. A blinding flash of light consumed Hicks and Reeves as the Singularity Core pulsed with unimaginable power. The light swallowed Tyro and Zaran too, the four of them vanishing from the material plane. They reappeared in a realm beyond comprehension, a dimension of swirling colors and impossible geometries. Hicks blinked, his mind struggling to process the alien surroundings. Beside him, Reeves gasped, her eyes wide with awe and terror. Before them stood a being of pure energy, a radiant figure that defied description. It spoke, its voice resonating through their very souls. "I am the architect," it declared, "creator of the Singularity Core, guide of humanity's ascent." Hicks stepped forward, his voice trembling. "Why have you brought us here?" The architect's form shimmered, tendrils of light reaching out to caress the humans. "Your species was chosen, champion. The ancient fleet, a crucible to forge you into the guardians this galaxy needs." Tyro snarled, his four eyes blazing with greed. "This power should be mine." He lunged at the architect, talons outstretched. The entity waved its hand, and Tyro froze mid-leap, suspended in a web of scintillating energy. The architect turned to Hicks. "You, my champion, shall wield the core's might, a conduit for its power to maintain the balance." Hicks felt the energy surge through him, his body thrumming with ancient knowledge and unimaginable strength. He rose into the air, his eyes glowing with starfire. Tyro broke free of his bonds, his form twisting and morphing as he drew upon the higher dimension's chaotic energies. "I will have this power," he roared, hurling himself at Hicks. The two titans clashed, reality warping around them as they dueled with forces beyond mortal ken. Reeves and Zarin were thrown back by the shockwaves, tumbling through the strange landscape. Zarin pulled himself to his feet, mandibles clicking in confusion. "What is this place?" Reeves shook her head. "I don't know, but we have to stop them before they tear apart the universe." They watched helplessly as Hicks and Tyro battled, the architect's realm quaking beneath the onslaught. Mountains of impossible colors crumbled, seas of liquid thought boiled away. The architect's voice cut through the chaos. "Enough!" The entity appeared between the combatants, holding them apart with walls of shimmering force. "You have a choice," it intoned. "Embrace your destiny as guardians or continue this path of destruction and doom all life to oblivion." Hicks and Tyro glared at each other, chests heaving with exertion. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance as two ancient enemies faced the ultimate decision. In that moment, as the fate of the galaxy hung by a thread, a profound revelation washed over Hicks. He saw with perfect clarity that the path to true balance lay not in conquest, but in understanding. The knowledge imparted by the architect surged through his mind, and he knew what he had to do. Hicks reached out with his thoughts, his consciousness brushing against Tyro's. The Andorian recoiled, his mental defenses snapping into place. But Hicks persisted, projecting visions of a future where their species stood together as guardians of peace. Tyro resisted, his mind a maelstrom of anger and distrust, but as the images flowed between them, he found himself drawn into the possibility of a galaxy free from the endless cycle of war. He saw Andorians and humans working side by side, their strengths complementing each other as they maintained harmony among the stars. As their minds intertwined, Hicks and Tyro began to see through each other's eyes. They felt the weight of responsibility that came with leadership, the desperate desire to protect their people. And in that shared understanding, they discovered a fundamental truth. For all their differences, their species were more alike than they had ever realized. Reeves and Zarin, watching the silent exchange, felt the shift in the air. Reeves, her heart swelling with hope, saw the wisdom in Hicks's actions. She stepped forward, placing her hand on his shoulder in a gesture of support. In that moment, she embraced her role as a guardian, vowing to guide humanity towards its true potential. Zarin, torn between loyalty and the undeniable truth before him, hesitated. He had spent his life in service to the Andorian Empire, but as he witnessed the change in Tyro, he began to question everything he had ever believed. With a heavy heart, he made his choice, stepping forward to stand beside his former enemies. As the understanding between Hicks and Tyro deepened, the architect spoke once more. "You have seen the path to true balance," it said, its voice resonating through the very fabric of the higher dimension. "But there is one final step." The architect revealed its ultimate challenge, for Hicks and Tyro to merge their consciousnesses, becoming a single entity that embodied the unity and balance they sought. But the process was fraught with danger, for if they failed, their minds would be annihilated, and the higher dimension itself would collapse. Hicks and Tyro exchanged a glance, the weight of the decision heavy upon them. They had come so far, had sacrificed so much. To turn back now would be to abandon all hope for a better future. But the risk was immense, the consequences of failure too terrible to contemplate. As the seconds ticked by, Hicks and Tyro grappled with the choice before them. The fate of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, and time was running out. They had to decide, and decide quickly. Would they take the leap of faith, trusting in each other's strength to see them through? Or would they falter, letting fear and doubt consume them, and risk losing everything they had fought so hard to protect? The architect watched impassive, as the two leaders wrestled with their destinies. The future of all life hung in the balance, and only Hicks and Tyro could tip the scales towards salvation or oblivion. Hicks and Tyro locked eyes, the weight of their decision heavy in the air. They nodded in unison, their resolve unwavering. The architect's form shimmered with approval as the two leaders stepped forward, ready to begin the merge. Tendrils of energy snaked out from the architect, enveloping Hicks and Tyro in a shimmering cocoon. Their minds brushed against each other, tentative at first, then, with growing intensity, memories, thoughts, and emotions flowed between them like a raging river, threatening to sweep them away in the current. Hicks gasped as Tyro's experiences flooded his consciousness. He saw the pride and honor of the Andorian people, their fierce devotion to their empire. But he also felt the weight of Tyro's responsibility, the crushing burden of leadership in a galaxy torn by war. Tyro, in turn, found himself immersed in Hicks's memories of the war that nearly annihilated humanity. The desperation, the sacrifice, the unimaginable loss. He felt Hicks's guilt, the scars that haunted his every waking moment. As their minds continued to intertwine, the two leaders began to see the galaxy through new eyes. Hicks witnessed the strength and resilience of the Andorian people, their unyielding spirit in the face of adversity. Tyro marveled at humanity's ingenuity and adaptability, their ability to rise from the ashes of near extinction. But the merger was not without its trials. Hicks found himself confronted by the darkest aspects of his own psyche, the fear and self-doubt that had plagued him for so long. He saw the faces of those he had failed, the lives lost under his command. Tyro, too, faced his inner demons, his hunger for power, his belief in Andorian supremacy. He saw the suffering his actions had caused, the lives ruined in pursuit of dominance. In the heart of the merge, Hicks and Tyro battled against their own shadows, wrestling with the guilt and fear that threatened to consume them. But as they struggled, they began to see a glimmer of hope, a path forward that led to balance and unity. Meanwhile, Reeves and Zarin navigated the treacherous landscape of the higher dimension, their surroundings shifting and warping with each step. Suddenly, a group of ethereal beings materialized before them, their forms shimmering with an otherworldly light. "We are the Watchers," they intoned, their voices echoing through the void. "We have observed the conflict between your species for eons, waiting for the moment when balance might be restored." Reeves and Zarin listened in awe as the Watchers revealed the true nature of the architect's plan. The merge, they warned, was not the path to harmony, but a trap that would lead to the unraveling of the universe itself. "The architect seeks not balance but control," the Watchers explained. "By merging the consciousnesses of Hicks and Tyro, it hopes to create a being of immense power, a puppet to shape the galaxy according to its own design." Reeves and Zarin looked at each other, the weight of this revelation sinking in. They knew they had to warn Hicks and Tyro before it was too late. Racing against time, they navigated the shifting landscape of the higher dimension, dodging past impossibilities and paradoxes. The ground beneath their feet twisted and warped, the very fabric of reality straining against the architect's machinations. As they drew closer to the merge, they could feel the energy building, the power growing with each passing second. They pushed themselves harder, faster, knowing that the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. At last they burst into the chamber, where Hicks and Tyro were locked in the final stages of the merge. The architect's form loomed over them, its energy swirling in a maelstrom of power. "Hicks, Tyro!" Reeves shouted, her voice straining to be heard over the roar of the merge. "You have to stop, the architect is using you." Zarin joined in, his mandibles clicking with urgency. "It seeks to control the galaxy through you. You must resist." Hicks and Tyro, their minds nearly fully merged, struggled to comprehend the words of their comrades. The architect's influence was strong, its promises of power and purpose seductive. But as they looked into each other's eyes, they saw the truth reflected there. The merge was not the answer, not the path to true balance. They had to find another way, a way that respected the autonomy and diversity of all species. With a final wrenching effort, Hicks and Tyro tore themselves free of the merge. their minds separating in a blinding flash of energy. The architect's form recoiled, its plans unraveling before its very eyes. Hicks and Tyro stood side by side, their differences no longer a source of conflict, but a strength to be celebrated. They knew the road ahead would not be easy, that there would be challenges and setbacks, but they also knew that together they could build a galaxy where all species could thrive, where balance was not imposed but achieved through understanding and cooperation. The Watchers looked on, their forms shimmering with approval. "You have chosen wisely," they said, their voices fading into the void. "The path ahead is yours to walk, but know that you do not walk it alone." As the higher dimension began to fade around them, Hicks, Tyro, Reeves and Zeron looked to the future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They had seen the truth, had glimpsed the potential for a galaxy united in purpose and understanding, and they would stop at nothing to make that vision a reality. The architect's form flickered and faded, its plans crumbling to dust, but even as it disappeared, its voice echoed through the void, a final warning and a promise. "You may have rejected my path, but the galaxy will still need guardians, and when the time comes, when the darkness rises and chaos reigns, you will see the truth of my words. You will see the price of your choice." Hicks and Tyro looked at each other, their resolve hardening. They knew the architect's warning was not an idle threat, but a glimpse of the trials to come. But they also knew that they would face those trials together, united in purpose and spirit. The galaxy needed guardians, but not the kind the architect had envisioned. It needed guardians who led by example, who inspired rather than controlled. As they returned to the material realm, the station and the fleets that surrounded it seemed small and insignificant compared to the vastness of the cosmos. But Hicks and Tyro knew that every journey, no matter how grand, began with a single step. And as they looked out at the stars, they knew that their journey had only just begun. Reeves and Zaron too felt the weight of the task before them. They had seen the true face of the architect, had glimpsed the depths of its machinations. They knew that the road ahead would be fraught with danger, that there would be those who sought to exploit the power of the Singularity Core for their own gain. But they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the knowledge and wisdom of the Watchers to guide them. And as they looked at Hicks and Tyro, they saw not just allies, but friends and comrades in arms. The Alliance delegates, still reeling from the events that had transpired, looked to Hicks and Tyro for guidance, and in that moment, the two leaders knew what they had to do. They had to forge a new path, a path that respected the sovereignty of all species while still working towards a common goal. They would not impose their will upon the galaxy, but rather lead by example. They would show the power of cooperation, of understanding, of the common bonds that united all living things. And in doing so, they would build a galaxy that was stronger, more vibrant and more resilient than ever before. As they set forth on this new path, Hicks and Tyro knew that there would be challenges and obstacles at every turn. As Reeves and Zaron raced through the treacherous landscape of the higher dimension, the architect's fury shook the realm. Reality warped around them, the ground cracking beneath their feet. Ahead, the merging forms of Hicks and Tyro pulsed with blinding light. The architect loomed over them, its energy swirling in a maelstrom of power. Zaron stumbled, his strength waning. Reeves grabbed his arm, pulling him onward. "We have to stop the merger." The architect sensed their approach. It lashed out with tendrils of dark matter, trying to ensnare the intruders. Zaron pushed Reeves aside, taking the brunt of the attack. "Gus," he shouted, his form flickering, "I'll hold it back." Reeves hesitated, torn, but Zaron's eyes blazed with determination. "Save them, Reeves, save us all." With a final nod, Reeves sprinted towards the merging consciousnesses. Zaron turned to face the architect, drawing upon every ounce of his life force. The Andorian charged, his body disintegrating as he clashed with the architect's power. For a heartbeat, he held the entity at bay, buying Reeves precious seconds. Reeves reached Hicks and Tyro, their merged form nearly complete. She could feel the potential for catastrophe, the unraveling of the cosmos. "Hicks," she cried, tears streaming down her face. "You have to stop. The Watchers warned us. The merger will destroy everything." But Hicks and Tyro were too far gone, their minds nearly one. Reeves knew what she had to do. With a sob, she unleashed a blast of psychic energy, pouring all her love and grief into the attack. The burst tore through the merging consciousnesses, severing the connection at its core. Hicks and Tyro's forms shattered, their minds ripped apart. The shockwave blasted through the higher dimension, the architect's scream of rage fading as its realm crumbled. Reeves felt herself falling, tumbling through the void. She awoke on the cold deck of Tyro's flagship, her body aching. Nearby, Tyro stirred, his 4 eyes blinking in confusion. "Hicks," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I can feel him inside my mind. His memories, his experiences." Reeves pulled herself to her feet, her heart heavy with loss. "The merger wasn't complete," she said softly, "but a part of him will always be with you." Tyro nodded, his gaze distant. "He's guiding me, showing me a new path, a path of peace." Reeves squared her shoulders, the weight of her new role settling upon her. She was humanity's guardian now, charged with building a better future. On the Alliance ships and Andorian vessels, the news of Hicks and Zaren's sacrifices spread like wildfire. The two sides, once bitter enemies, found themselves united in their grief and hope. The war was over, but the true struggle had just begun. Forging a lasting peace would take time, trust, and unwavering commitment, but with Hicks and Zaren's memories to guide them, Reeves and Tyro knew they could face any challenge. As the ships set course for their respective homes, a new chapter in the galaxy's history unfolded. The ancient human fleet, a symbol of unity and resilience, stood ready to face whatever trials lay ahead. The legend of Hicks and Tyro would endure, a beacon of hope in an uncertain universe. Their story would be told for generations, a reminder of the power of sacrifice and the unbreakable spirit of those who dared to dream of a better tomorrow. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.